Okay, everybody ready to get started? All right. Hello, my name is Eric Chabel. I'm the JBoss technology evangelist here living in Europe, but pretty much covering the whole world. And today I'm going to talk about OpenShift, a little bit based on a book I did, a very small ebook called the OpenShift Primer. Just to give me an idea of how many people here have any idea what this is about. Could you stick your hand up if you've done anything with OpenShift? I can't see a thing. There we go. Okay. How many people want to do something with OpenShift? How many people thought it was going to be really quiet here and just want to sleep someplace? That's the other half. Okay. No, I'm just kidding. What we're going to look at today, and what I always start out with on this talk, this is about giving you 3 new tools. I'm going to give you 3 brand new tools by the end of this talk. People with their laptops open, you can follow along. It's that easy. I'm assuming most of you are technically inclined and able to deal with this kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, you're going to have from us 3 brand new tools to do with it as you like. Think of them as platforms, and you can put whatever you want, whatever you're working on, you'll be able to do with these things. I always like to give a little bit of background, too, about what this is about. This cloud stuff is really sounding nice when everybody talks about it. It's all magical. It's all someplace else. My experience with this is when we acquired this and somebody put this in front of me and I started playing with it, and I like to warn you at the beginning, how many people here spend time doing dual boots on their machines? How many people spend time doing virtual machines like, what are they, Parallels or God knows what all you're using? You're never going to have to do that again, ever. Are you Java developers? Are you PHP developers? Are you Ruby developers? For the last 2 years, I no longer mess around with dual boots. I no longer mess around with any kind of parallel stuff or virtualization if I can help it. There's really no reason, right? That's for me when the thing hit its place was when I figured out this is how it can work. How many people spend a good part, let's say 80% of your day in an IDE? Even better. How many Eclipse? How many hate Eclipse? Okay, the Eclipse guys got a little bit of a head start on you here, but what I like to put up here is something like this. This is our ideal world, right? We've been coding forever since we were little teeny boys and girls. We have an IDE we like. I'm sorry, this is an Eclipse IDE. That's my favorite one. And we want something that looks a little bit like this. We want a boss that'll give us 2 nice monitors, lots of space to work with our code and stuff. We want some music maybe, we want some good coffee is an important thing, and we want to be left the hell alone, right? Maybe you don't even want a window, you want to be in a basement someplace. But this is the ideal world. So why do we spend our time doing this? How many people here are responsible for saying the project's going to be done next Friday when they're at work? How many people have had stuff that you start working on it and it's all wonderful in development, you think you're ahead of schedule, and then you switch it over to acceptance or to the test environment, and you're screwing around like this lady here, messing with all of us, right? I hate that. I hate the word DevOps. DevOps is basically something that's come out of that operations can't deal with the complexities that we are coding, the applications that we're trying to deploy. It's gone beyond keeping the operating system running. It's gone to tweaking with our data sets. It's gone to looking at exception lists, log dumps, all kinds of stuff that they can't follow. So you need a developer that's doing operations stuff. How many developers here like operations work? You're a brave man, my friend. Most of us, and I get that, I mean, what did you sign up for? You signed up to be a developer, right? You want to code your stuff, you want to deploy your stuff, you don't want to tweak all the little knobs at the bottom of the box. At least I don't anymore. Okay, so a little bit of history. We acquired a company called Makara. I don't know if you remember that. Red Hat bought them. They started out with a Flash-based interface and something that resembled what OpenShift now is. That was like their step-in model, and then the big one was going online and using a Flash interface to load balance the stuff. We merged this into the OpenShift project as you see it today. It got open sourced in 2012. That's the first time I heard about it. We always open source everything that we acquire, so any bits and pieces like Flash, they get redone in something open source. They got launched with GitHub, live CDs, blogs, how-tos, all this kind of stuff. There's more stuff out there than you could, anything you want to try and do, there's a how-to already, pretty much. It's completely been swamped by people that have, the light bulb has gone on, and they are understanding that this is how I want to work. I put out a small book. This book is nothing more than getting you started with what you're looking at today, the same as this talk. It involves a lot of examples and quick starts and things to get you going. It's all about getting on with what you are doing, not making how you work the way we want you to work. So trying to facilitate that you can continue to do what you do. Then we had just some recent announcements around the enterprise options, so you can get supported versions of this with an SLA online. Even, I think 2 days ago, they announced that they cut the prices in half of that. So it's not that expensive anymore. We've had events all around the world talking about this stuff. These are just some of the ones that I've been to in the last couple of years. There's a lot of interest in this stuff. I mean, look at you guys. You're interested in how this is going to work, right? It's really simple. We're talking about platform as a service. So the biggest thing you're going to have to do is sign up. That's because you're going to have to wait for an email to get to your inbox, and you have to say, yep, that's me. Once you have that, then you're able to install the client tools. That doesn't take very long either. How many people here are Windows users? Not too bad. Linux in some form, and Macs. Something else? Okay. So all three of these are supported. There's lots of videos on how to do this stuff. It's quite easy. You're going to create a domain. That domain is going to hold those 3 instances that we give you for free. It's just a URL that you're going to be pointing to. If you're working from an IDE, then it's going to all feel exactly the same, but we'll get to that. And then you're going to create an application. And your application is not what you're developing. You've already done that. What we're talking about is, how do you want to work? Do you want to do PHP? Do you want to do Ruby? Do you want to do Java? Do you want to do, I don't know, whatever you want to do. And then we get our instance, and we're going to deploy an application to it. That's the work you've done. So you're going to add that to the project. So signing up is really easy. It's OpenShift.redhat.com. Fill in a couple of things, and away you go. And you get 3 free hammers from that point on. The fun part is you're going to get, remember when you first discovered, way back when you first started coding, you discovered code repositories, and you could roll stuff back. You could throw stuff away and recheck out what you didn't break. This takes it to the level that you throw the whole damn machine away. When I do these demos, I probably throw them away 30 times. I don't even mess with code repositories anymore. I just throw the whole damn machine away and start over again when I break it that bad. IRC is a good place to hang out. The only warning there is the guys that are physically active in the project as far as working for Red Hat and JBoss that are going to support your questions tend to live in California. So that means they're 9 hours behind us. So give them a break, and you probably won't get a lot of answers until later in the afternoon. Just be aware of that. When you install the client tools, you have a couple of things to be aware of depending upon your platform. Things like Fedora and RHEL that are based on the Linux versions of Red Hat. It's already integrated, so it's just a matter of installing it with the Linux commands there. If you're using Windows or OS X, it's all Ruby-based gems. So on OS X, it's just a gem install, and away you go. Okay? Now you have to create a domain, and I'm going to show you, you're going to see in these slides a mix of command lines, because there's lots of ways to do this, and they also have a very nice web console online to do this stuff. So those will be the images you see here, and up here you'll see the command line a little bit about it. Be aware also the command line, that RHC, that's Red Hat Cloud abbreviation. You see here domain create. There's about 3 different ways to create a domain and to rename your domain. There's a lot of legacy tooling as they move forward. They're very active in the development. It's probably about every 2 to 3 weeks they release something new. For these slides, you're going to see for the first time the new website. I had to, every time I give this talk, I have to turn around and go back out and refix my screenshots. So what you have here, and it's really hard to see, but you have your application name, a dash, and then the name of your domain. I have all the good ones, so you can forget getting really nice stuff. I have in the Red Hat Cloud, I have on the Red Hat Cloud, and I'm never giving these up. I was there in the beginning. But at the back here, you have .rhcloud, so at Red Hat Cloud. So it's the application dash your domain .rhcloud.com. Once you've done that, you can log in. Another thing I wanted to add here, which was nice, that they happen to have an actual issue. It'll pop up there at the top, and you can see what's going on. Things like that are going to hold you back. Almost everything you put up there continues to run all the time, even in the free open source one. The only thing that tends to fall over is, in my experience, in the 2 years I've been using it, is DNS stuff in the States. It tends to get flaky sometimes. And that means they can't create new instances. So if you're ever going to demo this for somebody, set your stuff up and make sure it's existing before you start playing around with it live. Because if the DNS falls out, which is the biggest thing that could happen, everything that you see already listed is already there. That won't fall over. Other than that, what you get when you log in is you get a list of your applications. You see here 5. Now notice I have a whole lot more than those 3 hammers, but in your case there'll be exactly 3 available for free. So you can do whatever you want for those 3. Here I have a Java. Funny enough. I have PHP examples, I have Ruby examples, we have all kinds of stuff we're going to show you. The first thing it's going to do, there's 3 things across the top here. It's a 3-step process when you're putting something together. First, we've got to pick what we want to do. Now, they've gone so far as to not make just bald, what they call cartridges. You choose a Ruby cartridge, or you choose a PHP cartridge, or you choose a Java cartridge, or you choose whatever you choose. They even have some stuff that's called instant apps. So like a complete Jenkins server is rolled up in one of these. So if you select that, you get a Java plus the Jenkins already set up. When you do this, it's going to check out a local Git repository if you're doing it from the command line, and that's your link to your instance in the cloud. Anything you push is getting pushed out to that instance online. When you look at a Jenkins server, for example, that means any code you put in the code repository there will build any unit tests you have, and if they fail, it won't deploy. That kind of thing. Drupal, DocuWikis, AeroGear is a push thing from JBoss for the mobile stuff. So these are like pre-configured, a little bit more advanced packages. We also have the regular stuff. This is the featured at the top, but this list is really long, so there's quite a few things you can choose. We even see that you're allowed to use the enterprise application platform. Don't be freaked out by the $sign. That just means if you're going to use it in production, you need to get a subscription for that stuff. But you can continue to work with this in OpenShift without using the community stuff if you so wish. Which means anything that you'd happen to be doing in the enterprise on our JBoss stuff, you can also do in the cloud just to play around with and to test. It's the exact same stuff. So how does this look? At the top, you'll see here the cartridge you've chosen. And now you see that the domain's already been selected here, and all you're doing is you're naming your application. So what's your project going to be called? In this case, we're setting up a DevOps mobile application. And if you guys are playing with your phones or with your regular browsers, you can go to this URL. So devox- in the RH Cloud thing, and it works. It's on there right now. You can register for this talk. So that's what the public URL is going to be. You have a source code. Now, when you're doing it from the console like this, the web console, you don't get a checkout locally because he doesn't know where to put it. But he will show you how to check it out. So he will generate that so you can go in and get it. It's just a repo somewhere, right, that you're linking to your instance. You can also have it go someplace else, so you can push it somewhere else. You see small gears. If you pull this down, there's also a medium gear. If you get supported versions, you're allowed to use medium gears. What that means is you're taking 2 hammers, putting them together to do the same job. Okay, so it's basically 2 gears being used. The name of the cartridge here, and scaling at the bottom here is yes or no. Scaling means, imagine this is my very first application. I have the 3 instances I'm allowed to start up, 3 gears. If I do this and say scaling, on this single gear, he'll say, okay, as long as the web traffic load isn't that heavy, then I'll just use this one. But if it really starts getting pounded, or you get /dotted or something on your blog that you're hosting on this, it'll start throwing more gears at it to handle the load until you run out of gears in your account. So in fact, you could use all 3 gears eventually if it got that bad. For what you want to use in Java, you're thinking maybe, hey, that has something to do with the memory that I'm using in my Java application. That has nothing to do with that at all. So it's just for web traffic. So don't be trying to use extra scaling to save your web application from running out of memory. That won't work. You see here at the bottom that it's advertising the cartridge. It's based on a premium cartridge, so it's additional cost after the first 3 gears of 3 cents per gear. Now, that's been halved since then, so it's a lot less. And we push the button, and this is what you get. It churns a little bit, and it says, okay, this is the deal. This is what you need to do at the command line to get your local copy of the instance. So everybody familiar with Git, I assume? I don't think we need to dig into that very much. So you're checking this out here, and then it tells you, it gives you some basic hints how to get started. So what you're getting is a blank repository, a blank instance, and there's no code in there, so you need to add your own personal project, or you need to go grab one of the demos, which I'll explain in a minute. Here's some instructions and things, readers and stuff. If you're using Developer Studio, it gives you some more hints on how to do this stuff. There's a whole lot of documentation behind this stuff, so it's pretty nice as far as that goes. Now, we click on the application we just did. We see we have DevOps in the cloud. You're getting a view of the single application. I've already clicked here, and it shows you the SSH links. A little hard to read here. You can actually SSH into this machine. Now, I know all of you, that's the first thing you're going to go do, right? We're all developers. Let's go kick the tires and look under the hood. But that's not really a good idea, and here's why. Everything you do locally in your repository, when you push it, is going to rebuild and regenerate all the configuration files and things like that. There's ways to deal with adjusting your configuration or adding things for your application like system properties. But realize things you do by SSHing in by hand will be overwritten the next time you do a push. Okay, so don't, go sniffle around if you want, but that's not really the way to be pushing your stuff over there. There's commands to look at the logs. There's commands to look at everything you normally would do when you log into a server, so there's really no need to do that anymore. You also see here at the bottom a little bit of adding extra stuff. They call that cartridges. So we have a bald Java application now. Maybe we want a database. You can add a database cartridge on the fly at any time. What does that do with your gears and your hammers? Think of it this way. All that DevOpsing you did in the past, of course, you realize a little bit how things are installed on a server when you try to do this. If it runs under a user, so if I'm doing a JBoss application server or a database that runs under a specific user, that's one of your gears. So if I add a database, I'm going to be using a second gear. If I add a Jenkins server, it'll be a third gear. So you can use it all up in one application if you want. Is that clear? Gives you kind of a feel for that. There's a lot more than this stuff, and you'll see some of it in a bit. So the listing, when you look at these gears, is like a MongoDB, a MySQL, Postgres, some of the open metric stuff. SwitchYard is an ESB you can add on to a Java application. So you see some of the stuff in the JBoss project space is already being tied into this offering. Cron jobs you can do. You got some Rock Mango. You got some. If you do a PHP thing, you do PHP MyAdmin for your database. So you have a nice graphical database going on to work with that. You also have a cartridge called Do It Yourself. This is a DYI. This is a cartridge where you can upgrade to any version you want. For example, with Ruby 1.9, which they offer, is not enough. You want 2. God knows what all development version. You can install that yourself. There's instructions on how to do that stuff and generate your own cartridges. Now, I want you to stop a second and imagine you're in your organization and you think, okay, this is out in the cloud outside. My company's never going to allow me to do this. The enterprise offering is that you bring this inside and use your resources and hide this way of working behind this interface, behind this kind of generating. So you're sitting in your development environment. Remember that lady shaking her thing? You don't have to do that anymore. You can go and request a cartridge. It's been designed to be your test environment with a database, with the data sets, with connections and everything you normally would have in that environment. And then you just check that out, move your code over, and you're now working in a test environment. And you're not interested in the infrastructure anymore. I'm not interested in that. I so love when I get to talk to a room full of Unix admins or something, and they're asking questions about how does this happen in the background? What about security? What about this? I'm always saying, repeat after me. I don't care. As a developer, I just don't care. I want to code my stuff and figure out why that doesn't work. I'm not interested in why the database doesn't work, or why the connection's bad, or why the data set's wrong, or where did they leave the data set, or what port needs to be open. Bah, I don't want anything to do with that anymore. Forgive me if I keep going off on that tangent, but this is something we just don't want to do anymore, do we? Or do you? Except for the one DevOps guy there. I'm really sorry, we're taking your job away. You may be unemployed shortly. Okay, there's other options. You're getting a quick look at the inside of the Eclipse Developer Studio here. There's a project in JBoss called JBoss Tools that's tied into the JBoss Developer Studio, which is nothing more than Eclipse and a monetized version of that that's given away with our products. This includes something like this where you log in, you see the list of stuff that exists. This is the pull down for the extra cartridges. If we have enough time, I'll try to jump on, but I don't think I'm going to have enough time. If anybody wants to see any of this kind of stuff, stop by the JBoss Red Hat booth the next couple of days and find me. I'll be around here, and I'll gladly flip this open and show you demos, okay? All you do is you create your application. This is one of the ways to do it. There's several other. You see there's lots of different things, and there's even more now, but the most important one is Java. You do an add of whatever files you got, and you do a commit push. You'll watch the output across the console going, and it's basically starts kickstarting your instance on that side, rebooting it, deploying your stuff, failing if it fails because your Java sucks, or deploying if everything goes well. The best way to play with this as a Java developer in the beginning, if you have some web project out there with a WAR file, just drop it in the deploys directory of a Java thing and watch it go. That's the easiest way to do it. When you get all done, the bald JBoss version of the application server comes up. This one here, if you happen to have done an AS7 installation, there's always some kind of front page like this for PHP or whatever it is. And there you go, you're ready to go. So now you can start deploying your WAR or your code into the source directory and let it build. It's all Mavenized, and we like to say easy peasy, right? That's not very hard. It's not a lot of slides, it's not a lot of stuff. I can stretch it, but this is what it is. It's not that hard anymore. A little bit of a question about the gears here. To give you an idea, it's 500 megabytes of memory and 1 gigabyte of storage per gear. So you could put all 3 gears into one thing, and you end up with all that memory and all that storage. Be aware of that. Now the Studio, if you're using Eclipse and use JBoss tooling, then you end up with, well, the JBoss Developer Studio, you have this really nice thing called JBoss Central, and you have little links up here that are like wizards that get you going. Otherwise, you need to go to the top right corner where there's that new project button, and if you pull that down, you'll find the OpenShift project or whatever, and it'll kickstart you into this. And you can select that, and you'll see that other screen that you just saw, and you can start either creating new stuff, you just log in, and it's all SSHing in the background back and forth like you're doing it from the command line. One advantage is here, you don't have to do any command line installation of the tooling at all. It's all embedded inside the Eclipse with the tooling there. So you don't have to do anything else with it. What it'll end up doing is tying in your server tab. It looks like you have a local application server, but it's an OpenShift server, and your project is generated into your folders on the side. When you start updating stuff and commit stuff, it'll automatically push it all out through to OpenShift without you really noticing. So your normal way of working continues along the same lines of code, commit, push, and that kind of stuff. And all of a sudden it's on a web page somewhere, and you can see the effects of what you're doing before you push it out into your whatever else you're doing. Okay, we have some quick starts to look at. This is how everything works basically in this world. We try to put things together to get you started a little faster instead of letting everybody bounce their head against stuff, and it really lends itself to this kind of work. So what I've done is I start over here and I create my new instance of Java. I want an EAP server. I got a connection with my Git project out into my instance, right? And then over here I go to Eric's repository and I say, okay, now I want to pull in this mobile application from DevOps. He pulls it in, he writes over the top of my repository, and I push it back out over here, and it's up and running, and then I can tweak from that point on. So that's the workflow that we're looking at here. So what you'll see, I put together a DevOps thing, is this is kind of a synopsis from the README file. So anytime you go into a blog post from OpenShift or from me, you'll find a story about it, and then you'll see a link to a GitHub repository with a README file. The README file at the bottom of the project is exactly this. And these are the commands top to bottom of how to get to your running application for whatever you're looking at, whether that's a PHP thing, a Ruby thing, or whatever it is. So you create the application, you change the directory into DevOps because that was the name of your application. When this completes, he's created a Git repository connected to your instance. So you change into that, and you now point with this command upstream to that other project. And then right here, you suck it in and say, write it all over the top of whatever I had. And then here you say push, and it goes back out to where it came from, to the OpenShift instance, and hopefully when you go here, you'll see this nice mobile web app, right? How easy is that? This is what it should look like on your desktop. If you do it on the mobile, it's a little bit nicer. It's a complete HTML5 web-enabled device thing. It works different on tablets. It works different on everything else. The presentation you're looking at right now has been done on something called Awestruct and Real.js. It's a web-enabled device, and you can look at this on your mobile phone also. If you go to prezosonThe.redhatcloud.com, you'll find this presentation already out there. I'm doing it locally right now just because I don't trust your guys' Wi-Fi. That's happened to me before, and then it's not working on the cloud out there because I can't get to it. But you see here, this is a presentation set up in Ruby based on Awestruct. And this is kind of an interesting one to look at because if you're interested in anything like that with the Ruby stuff, there's a lib directory in there where actually the code is hosted. And the setup files run through and check that all my Ruby gems are installed and up to date. And if not, it updates them every time I push. So it's constantly doing a complete build and check that the Awestruct and the tooling around this to generate these files for the presentation is all up to date, and then it builds it all, copies it over. There's a lot of stuff and activity on the web page there that they link to. Is basically the story here behind the OpenShift tags. If you tag anything OpenShift, they're going to love you. If you present about it, they're going to love you too. They might even send you swag. Stop by our booth. There's all kinds of stickers, and I think they have some T-shirts and stuff with this. Funny story around that. I had some T-shirts in the UK one time. I never thought about it. Been all over Europe with these things. And on the back, the logo in the beginning was fast, free, and easy. And we started giving them out in England, and the girls were like, "We don't want these. We can't wear these in the pub. I'm not fast, free, and easy." You know? So never thought about that. So we changed the logo. You won't find those anymore. So what do you think of your hammers? It's not a bad deal, is it? No more. You can get rid of all that virtualization stuff, save your boss a ton of money, save yourself a lot of heartache, and go out there and start pounding on some stuff, right? Now, this will be the point where you take the coffee break. We have a couple of minutes, so I'm going to show you a few more stuff. I have some JBPM migration. Anybody here do anything with BPM? Cool, huh? This is my project, so anytime they let me talk, I always show this project, like it or not. This is an online hosted project that you can put your old JBPM files into, and it turns them into BPMN2. It doesn't really matter. It's an example of a web application with some Java behind it that's been deployed. Check it out, look at it, and turn it into your own thing. It's based on JSF, I think. Here's a much more interesting one. This is the Drools Opta Planner demo. So this is a full-on optimization planning software kind of thing that does with resources. This has been deployed out there. It's kind of fun to watch this one because it's really stressing the CPU behind the scenes every time it does a recalculation. So it's figuring out how much fuel it takes to run a certain route to deliver all this stuff from a warehouse to all these destinations. It's a pretty complex problem. So you see that these are real live heavyweight enterprise components that can run on this stuff. It's not toys and games, cloud instances we're looking at. Business activity monitoring, really nice stuff that's going to be in our product coming out soon. I've set up some demos already that have kind of pulled these out of the product, and I like hosting them separate so you can play with them a little bit. Really fun, really nice stuff. You see here there's a little bit of stuff you have to do yourself. One of the things we're looking for is this XXX here. If you do REC app show and then name your app, it'll give you all the details about how to SSH into it and what the UU ID is, so your user ID of that instance. That changes every time you create a new one. To log into it, you need to insert that here. So you can SSH in and copy something in there. There's a password to log into this thing. It's right there. The process designer from our BPM tooling also I've deployed out there. So you can go out there and actually design processes for BPMN2 format and play with them. I just happened to have done a workshop for 3 hours a week and a half ago in London. So it's online here. You can find this one too. It's JAX London 2013 on the Red Hat Cloud. Feel free to go play with that. There's instructions and things to do that take you through 3 hours worth of, basically you skip the first hour because you're seeing what I'm telling you now, and then you go into the second and the third hour, and there's all kinds of workshop stuff about how to set stuff up and walk through this stuff. I've got all the links on here. The demo repository at OpenShift is where most of the modern stuff is. I have a slight selection of my own stuff. Feel free to send me emails and ask anything you want about this stuff. You'll find me at Eric S, ERICS, at redhat.com. You can just Google me too. It'll be easy to find me. I'm pretty active with this stuff. The workshop is found here too. That's a lot of fun to play with. Now, I have 2 minutes for questions, and anybody that doesn't have any questions can all run out the door now. Yeah, back there.
Number one is, for us Europeans, latency might be a problem. Where is the Red Hat Cloud?
Okay, the question is, for Europeans, there might be a latency issue. Where is this hosted? That's a good point. Because of the half hour, I went kind of quick through some of the details. There's 3 places this can be hosted in the world: East Coast, West Coast, or in Dublin. As far as the open Amazon hosted instances we have, For the free stuff, it's all East Coast, like it or not. So that means for Europeans, we have a little bit of delay if it's really busy. And you'll notice this about 1, 2 in the afternoon, maybe. I've been on the East Coast doing demos, and it really flies sometimes. When you go to the paid version, then you can move into choosing your local. So then it'll be in Ireland for you here in Europe. There's plans to move stuff, of course, off into Asia and things like that. There's also issues around privacy and things like that with America's new laws about not exporting data, being able to track down data based on where your headquarters are. Germany, for example, will not allow stuff to be hosted at Amazon because the headquarters in America, which means they can follow it anywhere in the world and take the data, and that's not allowed with their privacy laws. So there will be solutions based on countries and things like that that have to be adjusted. Does that answer your question? Why choose OpenShift? Our developer, do you guys really want to hear the sales speech? Why choose OpenShift over Azure and all that kind of stuff? For me personally, my pitch would be the open source values that you're looking at. The ease of use I've seen nowhere else. And there's nothing inside this stuff that forces you to change your code to work with our stuff, so it's completely portable. Whether it runs on a local host server or into the OpenShift stuff, it's the same story. These are just really fast reasons, but you stop by the booth, we can chat some more about what you like about the other ones and see if I can convince you to use this. But again, remember the second slide, just look at it and you'll never go back. It's really disgusting to look at people doing virtual machines and things like that. Such a waste. I'm getting cut off now, so. Any other questions, just see me at the booth. I'll be over there the rest of the evening, okay? Thank you.